Hello, welcome, and thank you to anyone who clicked on this video. Today I'm going to be going over the 11 vacant captaincies in the NHL today. I'll just be talking about their situation, and their options, and who I'd name captain. I think I'm going to go in and put a timestamp for every team that I'll be going over if any of you just want to see your team. And I'll also say this is obviously fans of these teams know better because they know the personalities a little bit better. So a lot of this is going to be based on ice stuff like play style, and some off ice personal stuff. But I'll lean heavily on the on ice stuff because that's what the, I guess, ignorant fan would know. Someone who's not as tapped into these different teams. But let's get into it. Up first, we have the Boston Bruins. They've been captainless since Brad Marchand was traded to Florida a couple seasons ago. This is one of the harder ones to decide because they have two clear front runners, and that is David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy. From what I've seen, Bruins fans are pretty split here. Pasternak's definitely the better player, but I'd go with McAvoy. This isn't a diss on Pasta, but McAvoy has more of the traits I'd like to see in a captain. He's more of a two-way player. He's much more physical. He's a better lead-by-example guy than Pasta would be. Sometimes, again, I don't want to make it sound like I don't like David Pastrnak, but he's a little bit snappy sometimes. It feels like he's got a little bit of an attitude. So I don't know if that's necessarily what you want in a captain, but still, I don't think they'd go wrong with either guy. I think these are both fits, and they're probably around for the long term. And I don't even know how much that it would change stuff, because these are probably the two that everyone's looking at anyway, in the locker room and from a fan perspective. Next up is the Anaheim Ducks. They haven't had a real captain since Ryan Getzlaf, I guess. And that's not a shot at Radko Gudas, but he was just a placeholder, and everyone kind of knew that. The candidates I have here are Jackson Lacombe, Troy Terry, and Leo Carlsson. I'm going to rule out Leo Carlsson. I wouldn't want a captain that's so recently committed to leaving for a bag. Right, that's what he did. He said, right, I will go to Philadelphia. That's what happened. He was ready to leave. But that leaves Lacombe and Terry. Again, like I said at the start, this would be easier for a Ducks fan to answer because I feel like we don't know much about Troy Terry. Like, we know he's good, but personality-wise, we don't know anything. I don't, at least. I feel like he's kind of a low-key guy, not much going on. But he's been there for a long time. He kind of bridges the gap between the different eras of the Ducks. I don't think they'd be wrong with picking him, but I would go with Lacombe. He's a calming presence on the ice. In my opinion, he's become an elite two-way defenseman. He's still underrated. And similar to McAvoy, he's got all the traits I'd want in a captain. You know, a reliable guy, someone that can lead by example. Next is the LA Kings. Their captain, Anze Kopitar, just retired. And whoever they pick's going to have big shoes to fill because Kopitar is like the king. He's the LA king. Um, as someone who never really liked Ovi or Crosby since they played in my division, Anze Kopitar's kind of the guy I saw as the face of my era of the NHL. But to get into the captain stuff, some people might think this is a layup, but I vehemently disagree. This is the only team I have 4 candidates, and I have Drew Doughty, Brant Clark, Quentin Byfield, and Adrian Kempe. I'm betting most people would say that they owe it to Doughty, but I disagree. I'll also admit I don't like Drew Doughty at all, but I don't think that's morphed my opinion on this. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and there's been some reporting that his relationship with the team has gotten kind of shaky. So I don't know if he's around for the long term. And anyway, he kind of hampers the team right now. You're already overpaying the guy by a lot. He takes up minutes from players like Brant Clark, and Jordan Spence is gone because of it. So do you really have to make him captain too? After him, there's Byfield and Clark. They're the faces of LA's young core. I wouldn't disagree with either of them. They're an integral part of the Kings' future. So if that's what they want to commit to, then go for it. Last is Adrian Kempe, the Kings' star winger, just extended for 8 more years. I might lean Kempe here, but this is one where I'd just play through the season. I would not name a captain. Another year of evaluation. Maybe you take Doughty out of the mix after that, and either Clark or Byfield grow into that role, or Kempe kind of cements himself as your captain. Next is Vancouver. They are captainless due to falling victim to Team USA and Quinn Hughes. Luckily, I think they have one of the easier decisions here. It's between Besser and Hronek. I'm under the impression that both of these guys are in it for the long haul, so both of them make sense. I'd pick Hronek, and I'd get it done quickly. They need to get that locker room straightened out, and I think Hronek has the presence to do it. But again, Besser would work too. I'd pick Hronek, though. Next is the Islanders. Their captain, Anders Lee, left in free agency this year. The 2 candidates I picked are Bo Horvat and Matthew Schaefer. I understand the appeal that Schaefer would have, but Horvat seems like such an easy decision to me. He has experience, obviously, and it's always kind of felt like he was being conditioned to fill this role eventually. He's also a guy that seems like he always shows up when you need him. Like, say they're down 2-0 or 2-1 in a slow game, not much going on. DeBoer looks at Horvat and says, "Go get me one." You expect him to. You know, as someone who watches my team play against him all the time, if it's a close game at the end, you're kind of just sitting there waiting for Bo Horvat to score. You know, it's like 100 times they're down and he gets the puck and goes bar down or posting in. I think that's big, having a clutch guy like that as your captain, someone you can lean on in those big situations. And don't worry about Schaefer. He's like 12. He'll have plenty of time to be captain one day. Um, so I think Horvat's easy here. I bet that's the one, probably the one I feel the strongest about on this list. Next is the Red Wings. I don't know if it's official yet, but I feel like a lot of us saw that Puckpedia on there. They took the C away from Larkin. Um, I don't know how official that is, right? But obviously, he probably won't be captain. I mean, if he gets traded, he's on a different team. And if he doesn't and they bring him back, Heiserman has to strip him. So I'm doing this anyway. And there's two clear options here. Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. I'm not going to completely repeat myself, so I'd say insert essentially everything I said about the Bruins here. Raymond's a great player, but Seider's just manufactured to lead a team. Just your big, physical, two-way defenseman. He plays tons of minutes. He plays incredibly hard minutes. He is a lead-by-example guy. And from what I see, that's heavily where Detroit fans lean. They want Seider as their captain, so I think that would be a slam dunk. But again, this isn't one where I think it's 99% Seider. I can see a scenario where Raymond gets it. That's it, though. It has to be between these two guys. Next is the Sharks. They've been captainless since Logan Couture got hurt, and that feels like it was forever ago now. I have three candidates. I have Alex Wenberg here. That one might be a little bit of a hot take. And then I have Tyler Toffoli and Macklin Celebrini. Either of the first two would just be placeholders for Celebrini if they think he's not ready. But I would think he is, so I'd expect him to get named. And I see it happening this summer. So even though I have three here, we're probably pretty sure it's going to be Celebrini. Not much to go into there. Next, I have the Ottawa Senators. Another victim of Team USA. I have three candidates for them. I have Claude Giroux, Tim Stützle, and Jake Sanderson. They obviously are coming off a pretty messy divorce with their ex-captain, Brady Tkachuk. And that's why I have Giroux here. We're all kind of thinking he's only got one more year left. And maybe you don't want Sanderson or Stützle dealing with such a contentious situation so early in their captaincy. So, I think that's where Giroux would fit. A veteran guy. He's been a captain before for a while. But this is also another one where I'd maybe let a year go by before I name someone. Specifically, if it's going to be one of Sanderson or Stützle. If I was picking between those two, I would pick Stützle. It's a tighter one. Everything I've said before would kind of make you think I'd say Sanderson because I picked Hronek. I picked Seider. I picked Lacombe. I picked McAvoy. But Stützle just has something about him that I can't really explain. I don't want to say aura, but that's probably the best way to describe it. I'm well aware too that aura is not a good reason to name a captain, although it kind of could be. But I would be perfectly accepting. I'd be very accepting if they pick Sanderson. That would work. But right now I'd go with Stützle, and I'd wait a year and let everything kind of cool down a bit. Next is my team, the Columbus Blue Jackets. We lost Boone in free agency this year, and I'd say the fan base isn't exactly bummed out about it. I love and appreciate Boone for what he was for us. I think most fans agree, but I also think most fans felt like a change was needed for a season or two now. Um, Werenski kind of felt like the heir apparent for a while, but I would pick Charlie Coyle. He's been there and done that. He's got the right attitude and temperament. I'll also say this has nothing to do with the recent trade dilemma with Werenski. I've been on social media, I've been on Twitter, I've been on Reddit banging this drum for a bit now. I don't think Werenski has the qualities of a captain. And you can't just name a guy because he's your best player. I think Coyle has that. I think he has a better ability to lead. The penultimate team here is the Chicago Blackhawks. They traded away their captain, Nick Foligno, this season. The options I have are Alex Vlasic, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Connor Bedard. I have Vlasic here because I've seen some Blackhawks fans float this out there, but that was before he had a somewhat underwhelming season. I also have Bertuzzi because I guess it sort of makes sense given his age and role on the team. But Bedard's kind of the easy pick here. I would. Sorry about that. I would wait. I would not name him this year. I think they're. I don't know if this makes sense, but I think they're a little bit too bad to put him in charge of a team. Like, I think that would kind of reflect badly. You're kind of putting him in a too difficult of a situation. But I think next year, you're looking to take a jump, you name him, and you let everybody kind of settle in together. And you let your young core settle into the roles they're going to assume with him as captain. The last team I have is the St. Louis Blues. They recently traded away their captain, Braden Shen. And the two guys I picked are Colton Parayko and Robert Thomas. There would be a big asterisk next to these two, depending on what St. Louis plans to do, since both of these guys had their names heavily involved in trade rumors. Parayko had a trade agreed to, but he declined it. I'd say there's an 80% chance they both stay, so that would help convince me to name either of these two. But this is another one where I'd wait a bit. I might even wait like 2 years and see how things turn out. Or even just give it a year and maybe one of their younger guys steps up. I'm thinking specifically of Philip Broberg. But I would wait on this one. I wouldn't worry about it. And let someone kind of claim it. Right? Well, that was it. Again, I'm not claiming to be an expert on any of these other than Columbus. So if you're a fan of a team and you disagree, let me know below. I'll defer to the fans of their respective team. If you have anything else you'd like to say, I'm all ears. Thanks if you made it this far. Hopefully, you'll see me again soon.